The first dish we're going to be making today is grits. This is a southern dish consisting of ground cornmeal that's boiled for around 5 minutes and is topped with pretty much anything you like. People use butter, people use cheese, egg, bacon. It's really versatile, but obviously in the Great Depression, people wouldn't have had access to all those things. So the type we're going to be making today is a lot more simplistic. But first you're going to need to boil a cup of water. Once the water is brought to a boil, you're going to need to incorporate our grits, but if you add them all at once, it'll create lumps. So you're going to want to gently sprinkle the grits in there while stirring. Okay, you can stop. Once you've added all your grits, you're gonna wanna continue to let them simmer for 5 minutes while stirring occasionally. When your grits are done, they should look a bit like this. The consistency shouldn't be too runny, but also not like overly thick. And you did a good job mixing, so there aren't so many lumps. Here are our finished grits, which are actually a very healthy meal. I would definitely recommend them to anyone who's trying to get a little diversity in their diet. Grits are very high in fiber. You can get them at they're not as common up here, but you should be able to find some at your local grocery store. So we're just gonna add a cube of butter, and some people might add sugar, but we're not a sugar household. So there's kind of a bit of debate between sugar lovers and savory lovers in the grits community. But normally people would put like eggs or sausage and bacon, tomatoes, stuff like that. But since it's from the Great Depression, we're going to do a very simplistic grits. I also seasoned it with some salt and a bit of garlic powder. Grits a million times.
My honest review is I did not know that grits could taste this good without like some very over seasoned tomatoes and like what else? I'm a vegetarian, so I don't do bacon and shit.
Hey, this is for school.
Right. Yeah, I'm not used to grits tasting this good without some accessories like tomatoes and like an over easy egg. But if you add some salt and pepper, some pepper, and some salt, like they're pretty good. It's just like the butter was just really doing it for me. It's probably high quality butter, so I don't know if that was all historically accurate. But
grits date back to the 16th century, originating in the Muscogee tribe of Tennessee. Grits are known as the OG struggle food, served to enslaved black peoples in the South, and later workers of communal living such as miners. Today, around 3/4 of the grits in the United States are sold in the South. So now we're going to be making our poor man's meal. So we've got the diced potatoes, onion, and hot dogs. So we're going to add some oil to a cast iron skillet. Ew, that's a bit too much. Then we're going to add the potatoes and the onions. So we're going to fry our onions, let them brown a little bit, and then we're going to add our potatoes. Because we're going to have to cook these for so long, I cut the onions a bit large on purpose so that they don't become burnt. I forgot to mention that I had previously pre-baked my potatoes, so they were already a little softened when I put them in the pan. So we're just gonna keep stirring and kind of sauteing these potatoes and onions until they become nice and browned. And then we're gonna add our hot dogs. The poor man's meal originated as a way for people to feed their families on a low budget. And obviously potatoes are very cheap, but also hot dogs were one of the most inexpensive types of meat on the market. So it allowed people to get like their protein in, get some starches, without having to spend too much money. Alright, I think ready. So now we're gonna add our hot dogs. You just cut them up into bite-sized pieces. We'll let that saute for a few more minutes, and then it should be ready. I'm seasoning it with salt, pepper, and a little bit of chili seasoning. You're going to be serving this meal with Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. Sadly, my sister's a vegetarian, so she's just going to be trying the potatoes.
I don't remember what hot dogs taste like though, so I think I can. I mean, it's not horrible. Like, I wouldn't eat it on a normal day.
But if you were broke.
Yeah, I mean, if I was broke, I mean, I'd prefer ramen, you know.
They didn't have ramen.
Okay, well, that was their problem. Sheesh. The potatoes are okay, like, if it's the best you can do.
Next, we're going to be making some prune pudding. So we're going to bring 2 cups of water to a boil, and then we're going to add our prunes and let it soak for 1 hour. Now that our prunes are done soaking, we're going to simmer them for 8 minutes and then puree them in a blender. Now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, the juice from 1 lemon, and 1/3 cup of our pureed prune mixture to a separate bowl. So we're going to mix this together and add it back to the larger pan, slowly incorporate it in there. Now with the remainder of the pureed prunes, we're going to add sugar, some cinnamon, and you're supposed to add cardamom, but I don't have cardamom, so we're going to add nutmeg. You're also supposed to add a star anise, but I only have these seeds. So I put some in a tea bag. I'm just going to let that hang out in there. This is what it should look like when it's finished. The consistency should be a bit thicker. It's not quite what I imagined, but let's see how it tastes. FDR was known for eating modestly as a show of solidarity with the American people. It was common knowledge that prune pudding was his favorite food. However, this was likely propaganda used to get people to feel better about their own diets. Our final dish will be creamed chipped beef. So to start out, we've got our dried beef, and we're going to cut it into bite-sized pieces. So once we've chopped our beef, we're going to melt our butter in the pan, and then we've got to add some all-purpose flour. We're going to mix this for 2 to 3 minutes and then add our spices. Then we're going to add our cup of milk. We're going to keep stirring this until it gets thicker. When it's done, you're going to want to add your beef and keep mixing until it's fully covered. When it's done, you can plate it, serve it on toast. People also serve it on hash browns. I didn't make quite enough sauce, so it's very heavy on the beef side, but yeah. How's it taste?
It's very salty.
Really?
Ooh, it's extremely salty.
I didn't even put any salt in there.
I think it's what is this, beef?
Cream chip beef, or SOS as it is so affectionately called by the Navy, dates back to the 1910s Manual for Army Cooks. It gained public popularity after soldiers returned home from war and were nostalgic for the very salty comfort food.